I haven't cooked a meal in my own kitchen in over 2 months, and it's tearing my family apart. When Clara and I got married 8 years ago, we agreed I'd handle the cooking. I've just always loved it. Meal prep was my way to decompress after work, and the kitchen was mine. I had everything organized: stainless steel racks for pans, magnetic strips for knives, a dedicated drawer for my cast iron skillet. Clara used to joke about how I treated the room. She would enter and ask when the lasagna would arrive. It worked. Then, 3 months ago, she came home from her friend Mara's house and said our kitchen looked tired. Not cluttered, not cramped. Tired. She wanted to refresh it. At first, I thought she meant a new backsplash or paint color. I didn't realize refresh meant gutting my systems. She replaced the racks with floating shelves. My skillets and pots were shoved into 2 lower cabinets, and the shelves now hold ceramic bowls she bought at a flea market. Half the upper cabinets were torn out to create open shelving. My cast iron skillet lives on the floor now, next to the trash can, because Clara said it ruined the aesthetic. I asked her to compromise, just one corner where I could keep my tools functional. She cried, saying I was dismissing all the work she'd put into making our home beautiful. She kept repeating that I didn't get it, but wouldn't explain what it was. So I stopped cooking, not to punish her. I just couldn't work like that. If my tools weren't respected, why should my labor be? Clara ordered takeout every night: Thai, burgers, sushi. At first, she acted like it was fun. She said they were supporting local businesses, arranging dumplings on her plates. But after 2 weeks, the containers piled up in the recycling bin, grease staining the cardboard. Her doctor mentioned she'd gained 15 pounds at her last physical. She told me this while standing in the doorway of the kitchen, arms crossed. She said that her cholesterol was up and I was forcing her to eat unhealthy food. I didn't point out that she could have cooked herself a salad. She hasn't touched our oven in years. The fights got uglier. Last week, she accused me of sabotaging her health to control her. She said I liked her being dependent on me. I didn't know how to respond. Her sister called me the next day saying Clara's been too stressed to sleep and that I'm being selfish. Her sister said that she just wants a nice home and asked if that was so bad. I found her Pinterest board last night. She left her laptop open on the couch, and there it was, Dream Kitchen Inspo. Hundreds of photos of marble countertops, hanging ivy, 0 appliances in sight. Not a single functional layout, just mood lighting and linen towels. I recognized our shelves in one pin. The caption said she finally nailed the look with a smiley emoji. Our 6-year-old Jake asked me yesterday why we never have homemade pancakes anymore. Clara snapped before I could answer, saying it was because I was throwing a tantrum. He looked at me with disappointment. I tried moving a hot plate to the garage last week, just to meal prep for Jake. Pasta, roasted veggies, nothing fancy. Clara took it away, saying it was a fire hazard. She bought a fondue set for entertaining. It's still in its box on the counter, tags dangling. Her book club met here last night. I stayed in the living room while her friends commented on the kitchen. One said it was like a journal photo. Clara laughed, but it sounded forced. I saw her staring at the corner where I'd stacked my mixing bowls, the last messy patch in her room. This morning, she told me to get over it and start cooking again. I asked if she'd at least store some decor to free up space. She refused, saying I was being ridiculous and that it was just a room. I'm in the guest bed tonight. She texted me an hour ago saying I was choosing a room over us. Maybe she's right, but it's not just a room. It's the one place I ever felt like I had a purpose in this house. Now for the first update. I never thought a kitchen could break a marriage. But here we are, 2 months deep into a standoff that's costing us money, health, and maybe our family. Clara's been ordering takeout every night since I stopped cooking. Last week, I checked our joint account. $800 gone this month alone. When I mentioned it, she shrugged and said that I was the one refusing to contribute. Her tone was casual. I started buying groceries just for me and Jake, packed his lunches with sliced apples and sandwiches. Clara called it a low blow, but I didn't know what else to do. Her doctor called about her cholesterol, a 30-point spike. She forwarded me the email with the subject line, "Your consequences," and no other message. I found her in the kitchen later, eating lo mein straight from the container. She said the grease was my fault, that I had forced her into stress eating. I wanted to ask why she couldn't just make a salad, but she hasn't opened the fridge unless it's to stash another takeout box. Then I found the receipt. It was crumpled in her purse, which she'd left on the counter. $3,200 for custom pendant lights. We'd agreed to save that money for Jake's braces. His front teeth overlap a little, not urgent, but the orthodontist said to start planning. When I showed her the receipt, she snatched it back and said that the kitchen needed finishing touches and that I wouldn't understand. Her voice was steady. I moved my remaining tools to a locked storage bin. The cast iron, my good knife, the Dutch oven my dad gave us as a wedding gift. Clara found the key taped under the bin and threw it into the backyard. I watched it arc over the hydrangeas. She said to grow up, storming inside. I dug through the grass for an hour, never found it. Jake's teacher called last Thursday. He had drawn a family portrait in art class. Me at the grill, Clara crying next to a tiny oven. The teacher said he had been anxious, chewing his sleeves raw during story time. Clara blamed me when we got home. She said that I was making him think she was the villain. But later, I caught her staring at the drawing on the fridge, her finger tracing the outline of her own figure. Her mom mailed her a diet book, The 10-Day Cleanse for Busy Moms. Clara opened it at the kitchen island, flipped to a page about banishing stress weight, and started sobbing. She accused me of telling her parents about the doctor's appointment. I hadn't. But I also didn't tell her I'd seen her searching quick weight loss on her laptop at 2 a.m. last week. The second mortgage inquiry popped up in her email. I'd gone in to forward her a message about Jake's soccer practice. The subject line, approval pending for $85 renovation. Chef-grade appliances, a marble waterfall island. We talked about refinancing last year, but only to lower our rate, not to fund, whatever this is. Our couples counselor said we were talking past each other. Clara picked her, said she needed someone sensitive. But Clara skipped the last 2 sessions, said work was too busy. Her Instagram showed a latte art class with Mara that same afternoon. I cooked Jake's birthday dinner on a borrowed camp stove in the driveway. Grilled chicken, store-bought cake. Clara stayed upstairs. I heard her on the phone with Mara. She said that she was not hungry and that it was fine. Later, I found a single fork in the sink, sauce smeared on the handle. She posted a photo of our kitchen on Nextdoor. I glimpsed her phone while she was scrolling. Any brunch spots with outdoor seating? Our kitchen is unusable. The comments praised her pendant lights. One asked for the name of her contractor. I transferred half our savings to a separate account. She hasn't noticed yet, or maybe she has and just doesn't care. 3 days ago, she brought home a chocolate cake from the bakery I used to like, set it on the counter and said that she was trying. Okay, it's still there. The frosting's cracking. Mara called me yesterday, said I was cold-hearted for abandoning Clara. I hung up, blocked her number. Clara hasn't mentioned it. Tonight, she stood in the guest room doorway and said she would file for divorce if I did not fix this. I asked, fix what? The kitchen or you? She left without answering. I don't know how to fix this without losing myself. Has anyone else been here? How do you choose between your sanity and the person you love? Now for the second update. Clara's been staying for 3 weeks now. Jake asks about her every night. When's mom coming back? I don't have an answer. I found a credit card statement in her desk drawer yesterday. $12,000 charged to my name. The application had my signature, but I never signed it. I called the bank, they froze the debt, said they'd investigate. When I told Clara, she became angry. I handed her the forged papers. She became quiet and sat on the stairs, pulling her knees to her chest. She explained it was for Mara's sister's wedding shower and that she wanted people to see them as put together. She mentioned that Mara always had the perfect life and she wanted to keep up. Jake's teacher called again. He's been drawing kitchens with padlocks on the cabinets. She said he's regressing. Started wetting the bed last week. I bought a nightlight. He laughed, but it didn't stick. My lawyer says the forgery helps my case. Primary custody's possible. Clara's mom called and explained that Clara had been fragile since Mara's divorce and wanted them to look enviable in photos online. I offered to try therapy again, but Clara refused, stating she's not crazy and that I don't get it. I sold her pendant lights on Craigslist. A buyer handed me $400 cash. I bought a used oven off Marketplace and installed it in the garage. Jake helped me paint the walls. He spilled a whole tray on the concrete, but we left the splatter. We make grilled cheese there now. She came by unannounced Sunday. Jake ran to hug her, then stepped back, questioning why Dad's kitchen was broken. She left a gift bag with a Lego set. He hasn't opened it. The divorce papers arrived yesterday. Clara texted that I would regret this. But this morning, I found a note in her handwriting tucked in the silverware drawer. I just wanted us to be the couple people admire. Why wasn't that enough for you? Has anyone else had to choose between their family and their own peace? How do you know when it's time to stop fighting? Now for the final update. The judge gave me temporary custody 6 weeks ago. Jake's been sleeping in his own bed most nights, but he still asks about Clara before turning out the light. I tell him she's working on herself. I don't know if that's true. Her fraud case is pending, and the court called her unstable in the hearing. We converted the garage into a kitchen. It's not pretty, but the oven works. Jake helped me paint the walls. He spilled a whole tray near the door, and now there's a splatter. We kept it. He names his grilled cheese creations after cartoon characters. Last week, Sponge Bread SquarePants got extra crispy. Clara's lawyer offered a deal. Drop the fraud charge, and she keeps the house. I said no. The pendant lights she bought were sold for $400, and a second-hand oven was purchased. Jake didn't understand why we needed another one. I told him it was because this one was ours. He He nodded as if it made perfect sense. She showed up at his soccer game last month. I didn't recognize her at first. Thinner, hair darker, eyes hollow. Jake sprinted to hug her, but she frowned at his cleats. She said they were last season's. He stepped back, confused. Later, he asked if Mom hates his shoes. I told him she's just tired. The bank confirmed the forgery. 12 grand on a credit card I never applied for. Clara sold the quartz samples and stools, but they only covered a fraction. Her Pinterest board is still up. Jake found it last week. All those marble countertops and hanging plants. He zoomed in on one photo. He asked why they weren't in there. There were no people in any of them, just empty tables and sunlight. She called me after the final hearing, sobbing, saying she missed us. I told her we missed who she used to be. The line went quiet. She said I never let her be enough. I hung up. Most of me just made Jake mac and cheese. The house is mine if I take over the mortgage. I replastered the kitchen walls, neutral beige, no accent colors. Jake picked a cast iron rack shaped like a sunflower. It's crooked, but we hung it right by the stove. Clara's mom says she's working 2 jobs paying off debt. Then I remember the $12 and closed the wondering off. Last night we made lasagna, real noodles, not the oven-ready kind. Jake stirred the sauce until it splattered his shirt. When it came out of the oven, he said it was better now. I didn't ask what he meant. Just let the steam rise between us, filling the room she'd wanted everyone to admire. Has anyone else rebuilt a life out of garage sales and custody hearings? How do you explain to a kid that sometimes love isn't enough? I'm doing my best, but some days it feels disorganized and uncertain.